Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is part 1 of our story. If you like this what if story and want to see part 2, let me know in the comments below. Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Also, check the description for more great content and my playlist. This story was posted by zivings on Wattpad. Now let's start. Izuku, take a swan dive off the roof. What Kaken said hasn't left my head as I'm sitting on the edge of the school roof. 17. I am quirkless after all. My death won't be like I'm preventing people from being saved right. I think to myself. Well, I guess I'm listening to him after all. I think to myself with a small smirk. I stand up and look down to the ground. No one was around. No one would find me before I died. I'll be gone 5. I slowly start to cry to myself. I'm sorry, mommy, love you. I think to myself as I fall forward. I fall down and smile to myself. 3. You're welcome, Kaken. I'll finally be gone. I think as I continue to fall. I feel big arms wrap around me and open my eyes. All Might. I scream. What the hell were you doing, kid? He screams back. 30. We land a few feet away from where I would have landed. I freeze on my own words. You were going to commit suicide, am I correct? He questions with a stern look. 38. Well, I respond, disappointed in myself. Why is that? He questions with a worried tone. I'm quirkless, I can't be a hero, so if I die it won't be like I'm depriving anyone from being saved. What's it matter for me? I say, gazing at the floor. Kid, just because you're quirkless doesn't mean you can't be a hero. All Might says, putting his hand on my shoulder. 85. I feel tears start to fall down my face. I can be a hero. I say with my hands holding my face. Yes, of course you can, and I'll help you. I'll get someone special to help you go train until you are the strongest boy even without a quirk. All Might explains with a huge smile. Seriously? You do that for a random kid? I say with a small sniffle. He puts a thumbs up. 73. What about my mom? What will I tell her? I start to panic. You'll bring her and go to America to train. Would you want to do that? He questions while coughing into his arm. A smile starts to form on my face. Yeah, All Might, I'll ask her, where should we meet next? I say, putting my hand on my chin. Tomorrow morning at the beach nearby. Don't worry, he'll be there at like 6. All Might says, putting a thumbs up. 4. Okay, thank you, All Might. I say, smiling and wiping the tears on my face. No problem, young man. Might I ask what your name is? He says with a hand behind his head and a smile. 2. Izuku Midoriya. I'm 14 and ready to be a hero. I say, smiling and pumping a fist in the air. The next day with Izuku and 𝐒𝐽𝐽 packing for America. I can't believe someone wants to bring us to America to train. Mom says while zipping her suitcase shut. I know it's crazy, my idol's friend wants to train me. I say with a smile while putting my suitcase onto the ground. Well, wait here, I'll go get the guy. I say, running out of the house. I run down to the beach All Might told me to meet him at and see someone there watching the water. Hey you! I yell to the person. 17. He turns to me and smiles. Ah, so you're Midoriya, huh? The guy responds. My mom and I are packed up and ready to go. I say, still in disbelief. All right, kid, show me the way. The short man says before we both walk to my house. After a couple-hour plane ride we arrive in the Big Apple, New York City. The man, whose name is Gran Torino, gets us a ride to this huge mansion slightly outside of the city. 22. Whoa, this is your house. I accidentally yell. Nope, this is All Might's, but I'm borrowing it. He says, walking up to the front door. Wow, Izuku, you really got lucky, huh? Mom says, putting her hand on my shoulder. 6. I smile at the house. Yeah, I did, Mom. I say, smiling. Come on now, we don't have all day to unpack. Gran Torino says, walking inside. 2. Mom and I follow and unpack all our things into bedrooms in the house. Alright, kid, these 10 months are gonna be hell, but if you want to be a hero then 10 months of hell will pay off in the long run, got it? Torino says. Yes, sir. I immediately respond. Now, Mrs. Midoriya, you promise me no matter how emotional you get seeing your son hurt, that you won't intervene and take him home. Torino says to Mom. Yes, sir. She hesitantly responds. All right then, go have fun. He says, tossing Mom a credit card. 7. Mom looks at it before dashing out of the house. 39. All right kid, let's get a move on. 3 months later. I scream in terror. I'm currently falling from the second-story stairs and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna die. That is before everything around me freezes. I look around and try and move. My limbs move and I look over to Teriino and his face is frozen along with the water I spilt on the stairs. 25. What the hell? I think to myself. I try and grab onto the staircase and succeed. I walk down to Teriino and wave my hands in front of him. No response. My eyes widen. Did I get a quirk? I think to myself. I start to squeeze my eyes shut. Start again. I think to myself before opening my eyes and seeing Teriino surprised. 13. I have a quirk. I scream. How the hell did you do that, kid? You literally teleported in front of me. Teriino says, surprised. Well, when I fell, everything froze, including you and that water that fell, but I could move, so I did and walked down in front of you. Then when I thought hard again about making you be able to move, it worked. I say, ecstatic that I got a quirk. So you do have a quirk? Teriino says, smiling. Yeah. I scream in pure joy. Good for you, kid. But now, we have to train you to use said quirk and get physically stronger. You might have a 4-pack, but your punches are light compared to any real hero. Teriino says, smirking. Well, I'm just a student, I think to myself. Yeah, let's do it. UA exams Izuku POV. Should I be a PP and steal everyone's points by stopping time, or should I use my strength? I'll give others the chance. I think to myself as I start walking to catch up to the rest who had already started running into the testing area. 49. I walk around and punch a few of the 2-pointers. They are easy targets, but the 3-pointers I'd have to slightly try with, which is boring. It's not that I don't have motivation to be a hero, but if it's not a challenge, then I'm not as interested. Being in danger is addicting. I guess I'm an adrenaline junkie. 6. As I continue to take out 2-pointers with ease, a huge earthquake happens and I look up to see the 0-pointer that was talked about during the instructions to the test. Now that looks interesting. I think to myself. My quirk allows me to win any fight that I want. I could beat All Might in his prime if I wanted to. That's why I like to use my own strength to prove I can accomplish goals without needing a quirk. No one needs to know I have a quirk, so I won't tell anyone. I'll be the first quirkless hero to get in the top 10, if not number 1 spot. 5. Everyone starts running away from the 0-pointer, but I see a brunette girl stuck under rubble. It looks as if she's about to get crushed, so I stop time and walk over to the 0-pointer. I start to jump from limb to limb until I'm all the way to the top. I stretch back my arm and throw a punch. I jump down and punch every one of its joints until I'm back onto the floor. I smirk to myself and turn around. I deactivate my quirk and start to walk back toward the rest of the points. 15. All Might POV. The 0-pointer Nizu let out goes flying back and hits the edge of the city. The girl who was stuck under its foot looks back terrified. Nizu, focus on that boy walking away from where the 0-pointer was. Aizawa says. The camera moves to him and my eyes widen. Young Midoriya. How did you do that? I think to myself. His name's Izuku Midoriya. He's said to be quirkless, so I'm not sure how he pulled that off. Nizu says. He looks cocky with that smirk on his face. Vlad King says in a disapproving tone. 2. I want him in my class though. Aizawa says before walking away. 2. I guess he got in after all. I think to myself with a smile. Grand Teriino clearly taught you well. 13. Izuku POV. I sneeze as I'm walking toward the exit of the city. Maybe someone's thinking about me. 5. Good job, contestants. Go home and wait maximum 2W-. I stop time because present Mike's loud voice is annoying. I walk far enough away so that I wouldn't be able to hear him and I start time again. For I walk to the apartment I grew up in. Grand Teriino lives somewhere else, but saying goodbye was easier than expected. I've changed from this eager kid to a kid who couldn't care less about people. Of course I love my mom because she's my mom, but other people don't pique my interest as much as they used to. I still want to be a hero, and I still look up to All Might, but now knowing I could beat anyone in this world is kind of sucky. 34. I make it home and walk in the front door. Mom, I'm home. I yell while throwing my shoes into the corner. She stumbles out of her room and runs over to me. Hi Izuku, how did the exams go? She asks, pulling me into a hug. They were good and I think I passed. I say, smiling. That's great, honey. She says with a huge smile. In the past 10 months I've grown from around 5 to almost 5'11", so I'm noticeably taller than my mom now. 9. Anyways, what's for dinner? I ask, taking off my shirt. It's summertime, so it's still kind of hot, that's why I don't usually wear my shirt around the house. 9. Your favorite 𝗧𝗏. Mom says, smiling. I smile and put a thumbs up. I walk into my room and go onto my phone. I haven't been back to the middle school I was at because I quite frankly don't care to go back. I'm hoping to see Bakugo though. I want to see the look on his face when he sees I made it into you. Without a quirk. He'll be so angry I'll have to hold back tears when I'm laughing. 7. 2 weeks later, Izuku. I hear my mom from behind my door. I put down the 50 pounds weight and go to the door. I open it and see my mom with an envelope in her hands. 5. It's from you, she says, throwing her hand out at me. I take the envelope and rip it open. A small projector comes out, All Might shows up. Hello, young Midoriya. This is a letter from you. A high school. All Might says in the projector. We would like to say that you have passed the writing exams with flying colors and did even better in the practical exams. He yells a little too loudly. Welcome to the Hero Academia. He yells before the projection stops. You made it, Izuku. Mom says, pouncing and hugging me. I smile. Yeah, I did, I say with a smile. You'll be a hero, oh, I'm so proud. She says, squeezing my face. Yeah, I know, I am really happy. I say in a muffled voice. Ooh, a high school, here I come. I think to myself. I still can't believe you got a quirk after all these years. Mom says, interrupting my thoughts. Yeah, it's real cool, and I can beat anyone I want with it. What's it even like when I use it? Like, what do you see? I genuinely question. Oh, for me, you just disappear and reappear in the place you start. Time doesn't stop for me, basically. She says nonchalantly. 11. I nod. Alright, got it. I say before sitting down in bed. Anyways, you should head to bed, you gotta get rested for school tomorrow. She says while walking toward the door. I nod and Mom walks out of the room. So tomorrow's the first day, let's see how this goes. Izuku POV, I am so proud. Mom says, crying while hugging me. Thanks, Mom, but I have to go. I say, smiling. Okay, I'm sorry for holding you back, go ahead. She says, quickly jumping back into the apartment. Bye, honey. She says as I start to walk away. Bye, Mom. I say, waving. I walk to you. And look at the front of the building. The high school I dreamed to going to is right in front of me, and I'm going in as a student. I think me a year ago would be bawling my eyes out. I chuckle at the thought as I walk into the building and make my way to class 1. The door is comically large, and when I open it I see a group of kids. Not only that, but I see the one and only Katsuki Bakugo. I see him look at me and his eyes widen. I walk over and sit in a seat at the other side of the room that he's on. I'm not about to have a reunion with someone who pushed me to suicide before. Why are you sitting next to me? A voice says. I look over and see a brunette girl with a nervous look on her face. She looks scared. She's also the one I saved at the exams. 6. Why can't I respond with a small attitude. Never mind. She says, putting her head into her hand and looking up to the front of the classroom. A yellow-haired boy walks over and puts his hand on the girl's shoulder. So appealing, do you want to go out sometime? He asks with a smile. Sorry, no, the girl says. Aw, come on, why not? The boy asks. I'm not interested in you, she says in a low tone. She sounds like she feels bad, I think, while looking over to her. Fine, the boy says before walking back to his seat. The girl sighs. I hear the door open and a man walks in. He has long black hair and a scarf around his neck. He also looks like he'd rather be at home sleeping than teaching. 4. Hello, children. I'm your homeroom teacher, Shota Aizawa. He says, walking up to the podium. In this school you will not get many breaks, so when you do, enjoy them. He says, completely serious. Now get gym uniforms and meet me outside. He says, walking out of the room. What about orientation? The brunette asks. No time for that, let's go. Aizawa says, continuing to walk. 2. All of us get up and walk to the locker rooms. Along the way I see Bakugo giving me a dirty look. I reciprocate the look and it seems to have made him surprised. Once I go into the boys' locker room, Bakugo finally speaks up. So, Deku, you decided to show up? He says to me, what's it to you, Bakugo? I say, looking back at him. You DMN quirkless loser. He says, catching everyone else's attention. Quirkless. A boy around my height with blue hair asks. Yeah. This nerd is a quirkless loser. Bakugo says. I sigh and take off my shirt, which reveals my six-pack. 5. Even if he is quirkless, he's ripped. How manly. A red-haired boy says. 3. I know, right? Dude must work his butt off. The same yellow-haired guy who got rejected by that girl said. 𝗕𝗁𝗏 doesn't mean he can beat me. Bakugo says before storming out of the room. 3. After I sigh out of annoyance, I put on the gym uniform and head out to where Izuocha is. 1. All right now, Mrs. Uraraka, come up and throw this ball for me. Izuocha says, tossing the ball onto the floor. 13. Sure. The brunette girl who rejected someone earlier says. She walks up and grabs the ball. She walks to the middle of the circle and pulls her arm back. Since you came first in the entrance exams, well no, you actually tied with someone else. Izuocha says, making Uraraka turn back to him surprised. 18. Someone tied with me. She says, surprised. Yes, Izuku Midoriya actually. He says, making everyone's eyes dart to me. The demon nerd tied for first. Bakugo screams. 3. What's it to you? I say, rolling my eyes. Izuocha fake coughs, gaining everyone's attention. Uraraka go, then Midoriya will go after you. Izuocha says, putting his hands in his pockets. She nods and walks back to the circle. She pulls her arm back before a glow starts to emit from her. She throws the ball and it causes wind to blow almost everyone back besides Izuocha and a 1379 meters. Good job. Izuocha says before looking back at me. 15. Your turn, Midoriya. He says before yawning. I walk toward the mount and pass by Uraraka. I see her glance at me with a questioning face. I can tell she's used to being at the top. Same as Bakugo, who looks like someone just spoiled a sequel to his favorite movie or something. 8. I walk into the circle and Izuocha throws me the ball. I crank back my arm before throwing the ball as far as I can without using my quirk. Luckily, with all my training, my strength is that of All Might. 25, 1456 meters. Good job, Midoriya. Izuocha says nonchalantly. 11. I nod before turning back to see the whole class with their mouths gaped. Everyone besides Uraraka, who just looks slightly taken back but with a smirk on her face. I smirk to myself before walking back into the group. Okay, now we will have a quirk test. We will do multiple challenges like that and whoever comes last will be expelled. And if you don't believe me, I expelled a whole freshman year class last year. Izuocha says with a smirk. A teacher who isn't hesitant to ruin someone's dreams, how nice. I think to myself before snickering. For then started the challenges, which in reality were really easy. I ran the 100-meter dash in a little over a second. I did as many push-ups as I could before Izuocha got impatient and made me stop. Same with the pull-ups, Izuocha had to tell me to stop. Most of everything else I just lasted the longest before getting bored. Once we finished everything, Izuocha brought up the leaderboard. 3-1. Izuku Midoriya 2. Ochako Uraraka 3. Shoto Todoroki 4. Katsuki Bakugo 5. Tenya Ida 6. Momo Yaoyorozu 4-7. Ijiro Kirishima 8. Denki Kaminari 9. Hanta Siro 10. Mina Ishido 11. Tsuyu Azui 12. Rikido Sato 13. Fumikage Tokoyami 14. Mizo Shoji 15. Mishiro Ojiro 16. Koji Koda 17. Toru Hagakure 3:18. Kyoka Jiro 3:19. Yuga Aoyama 20. Minoru Mineta, a midget boy says as he looks at last place. 4. Minoru Mineta, you're expelled. Izuocha says in a serious tone. 16. Oh. He continues to scream until he gets smacked by Izuocha's scarf. 3. You're not actually expelled, you grape. I just wanted you guys to try harder. He says, rolling his eyes. 37. Thank God. Mineta says, crying. 6. Anyways, go to lunch and then go home. I'm done teaching for the day. but tomorrow be prepared for battle training with All Might. Aizawa says before walking away. Everyone nods and walks away. I have no clue where the lunchroom is, so I just follow them. Once we find our way to the lunchroom, everyone sits with their friends. I don't talk to people, so I sit in one of the only empty tables and go on my phone. Hey, is it okay if I sit here? I hear a voice say. I look up and see Uraraka. But I say, still scrolling through my phone. She sits across from me and starts to eat. So do you have food? She asks, looking confused. I shake my head no as I scroll through my Instagram. She says, moving her arm toward me. I look up and see chopsticks with a rice ball stuck to them. I look back to her and see her smiling. I use my hand and take the rice ball off of the chopsticks before plopping it into my mouth. Thanks, I say, chewing the food. That had a good sauce on it, I think to myself. 9, no problem. She says as she continues to eat. So anyways, why did you want to sit here? I ask, slightly confused. Oh, well, everyone else bugs me about things, so having some peace and quiet is nice, although soon enough some boys will come over here and ask me out. She says as she lets out a small sigh. Do you like girls or something? I ask, which makes myself smirk. Well, what? It's just I know the boys that ask me out just think I'm attractive because of my assets, she says, embarrassed. 13, she's not wrong, she's insanely attractive, but I don't really care. 8, well, okay, if you want peace and quiet then just sit with me, maybe people will be more hesitant to come over if they see you with a boy. I say, trying to not be a pages 3, yeah thanks Midoriya, she says, smiling. No problem, can I have another one of those? I ask with a small blush. She giggles and gives me another one. Anyways, what's your quirk? When we were doing the test you were amazing. Uraraka asks, semi-amazed with my performance. I don't have a quirk. I lie to her. 3, She says, taken back. Yup, I'm a quirkless loser, I say, putting quotations with my hands. You're quirkless and that's strong. Wow, that's amazing. She says, amazed. Yeah, what's your quirk? I ask, trying to change the subject of me being quirkless. Oh, it's an enhancer quirk. I can basically power up all of my body parts. If I use to put power, I'll break them though. She says with a small laugh. 22, that sounds like All Might's quirk, how cool. I say, noticing the resemblance. She seems taken back by the All Might reference. You hear All Might? She says nervously. 5, what, you don't like him? I ask her, confused. No, I do, just no one really makes that comparison. She says, scratching the back of her head. She's lying. I think to myself. 2, I nod. Okay, well, anyways, it was nice talking to you, but I think it's time for dismissal. I say as the bell rings. Yeah, okay, well, I'll see you around, Midoriya. She says before getting up. Yeah, see you, Uraraka. I say before getting up and walking away. She doesn't mind that I'm quirkless, that's cool. I think to myself with a small smile. 3, tomorrow is the first day of combat training, let's see how this goes. Izuku POV, I walk into you. A and C Bakugo walk in front of me. He pushes me down to the ground and grabs my collar. UF lied to me. He says, gripping down on my collar. I look at him with a cold expression. I never lied about anything. I respond with an angry tone. You aren't quirkless. He says, shaking me. 3, I am though, but I just work for my accomplishments and don't get them handed to me just because I was born with a power. I say, grabbing his hand and squeezing down on it. 2, Dimon nerd, you're lying. He says, squeezing again. I grab his collar and squeeze it just as hard. Why would I lie? Why would I lie? I scream, letting my anger take over. 2, you nerd, you thought you were better than me. Bakugo screams angrily. For I hear voices start to surround me. I look and see a crowd of people watching what's happening. You'll never be better than me, you know that. Bakugo screams, causing people to look over at us. I am done. I say before lifting him off the ground by his collar and slamming him onto the floor. Guess what, Kaken? I'll become number 1 and no one will know who you even are? How would you like that, huh? I say with a sadistic smile as I lift him off the ground by his throat. 3, like you could be number 1. He yells, trying to get out of my grasp. You put me through hell that day I jumped. I say with a smile. His angry expression turns to one of surprise. I jumped off the roof of the school, and guess what? If someone didn't save me, I'd be dead. I say with tears slowly falling down my face. Wait, that. I say quietly. You're lying. He says in a sad tone. When I squeeze his throat more. Never. I say before dropping him onto the ground. 16. I wipe my face with my sleeve and walk away. I hear people talking and feel eyes watching me. I snicker. That felt way too good. I think to myself with a smirk. 3. I walk into the classroom and only see Uraraka sitting in her seat. I walk over and sit next to her just like yesterday. Midoriya, are you okay? She asks with a concerned face. I look at her and smile. Better than ever. I say, still smiling. She blushes slightly and smiles. Good. She says happily. The door opens and a few of the people who saw what happened with Bakugo and I walk in. I smirk. You didn't have to choke him out, you know. Kirishima says, which ticks me off a bit. 2. I did it to him before he could to me. I say in my defense. Wait, what happened? Uraraka asks, confused. Nothing, Uraraka. I say, trying to keep her out of it. 4. What do you mean nothing? You choked out Bakugo. Ida says, completely ruining my plan. I breathe in and sigh. He deserved it, he's lucky I didn't hurt him worse. I say dead seriously. What did he even do? Kaminari asks, confused. He made me suicidal, I tried to kill myself because of him. I say, getting tired of the questions. The room falls silent. 1. You got your answer, now get away from me. I say, getting tired of talking to people. They walk to their seats, but I still feel Uraraka's gaze on me. Uraraka, why are you staring? I say, looking over to her. It's nothing, sorry, she says, flustered. It's fine. I respond before yawning. Bakugo walks in and stares at me. He looks angry. He walks over to his seat and sits down. It's eerily quiet now. Aizawa walks in and seems surprised. Why so quiet? Not that I don't like it, but why? He asks with a confused face. Midoriya and Bakugo got into a fight in the halls and we found out why. Mineta says before getting smacked by Tsu, who used her tongue as a weapon. A fight? What? Aizawa asks while eyeing down Bakugo. Demon nerd faked being quirkless and tricked me for years. I got angry. Bakugo says, thinking he's in the right. 1. What's your reasoning, Midoriya? Aizawa asks while turning his attention to me. I let my anger get the best of me, as you know I am really quirkless. Not only him saying I lied to him, but remembering the hell he put me through in middle school. I lost my cool, I say truthfully. Hell in middle school. Aizawa says, raising a brow. I didn't do anything to that loser. Bakugo lies straight to their faces. He drove me to the point where I tried to kill myself, I say, looking down. What? Aizawa says in an angry tone. No, you didn't, you nerd. Bakugo yells, still thinking I didn't do it. 1. I know, I was joking. I lie with a small laugh. 3. Can't let him get expelled, I want to kick his butt. I think to myself as I continue to laugh. That's not funny. Aizawa says, activating his quirk. I feel Uraraka's gaze again and look over to her. Your L-. I cut her off by putting my hand on her mouth. Hush. I say, cutting her off. I see a blush form on her face before I take my hand off. 5. We gotta talk later, she says, still slightly blushing. I nod. Anyways, now that the joke's over, let's go for our combat training. Aizawa says, tired of the classes, 𝗧𝗔. Everyone gets up and goes to the locker rooms. When there I see Mineta looking into the wall. What's your deal, dude? Kaminari asks, looking at Mineta. There's a hole and I'm looking to see the girl's beauty parts. He says with a creepy giggle after. Momo's huge bub, same with Mina's, Jiro's perky ones, Tsu's firm ones and Uraraka's perfect firm ones. He says, drooling. 3. I chop his neck, making him pass out. 3. What's going on over there? I hear a voice say. I peek through the hole and see Uraraka in 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐵 𝗔𝗂𝗁. She screams before I get an eye full of Jiro's headphone ears. Damn it. I yell in pain. Perv. I hear Uraraka yell through the hole. Damn it, that effin' hurt. I think while holding my face and squinting my eye. Once the boys finish laughing at me, we all head out to ground beta where we find All Might. After he takes attendance, he starts to set up teams. Team A is Bakugo and Todoroki. Bakugo gives a dirty look to Todoroki, who ignores him. 1. Team B is Tokoyamk and Tsu. The two girls smile at each other too. Team C is Kaminari and Jiro. Kaminari and Jiro look at each other as All Might continues to call names. Team D is Ochako and Midoriya. I look at Uraraka and see her flustered while she watches All Might. 7. Wait, why'd he call her by her first name? I think to myself. After he announces the rest of the teams, the first match is announced. Team A versus Team D. All Might says with his signature smile. My eyes dart to Bakugo and he's looking at me as well. I smirk to myself as I walk up to Uraraka and grab her hand. I start to walk toward the building he told us to go to. 3. Midoriya. She says to me, confused. I stop and let go of her hand. I turn to her and see her face is semi-red. We have to beat him, okay? I say, dead serious. She nods. 1. Now, as you know, I'm pure strength, yes. I state the obvious. 1. She nods. All right, and your quirk can enhance your strength, so here's what happens. We go in, you focus on getting to the bomb, and I'll fight off Bakugo because let's be honest, he's gonna come after me. I explain while trying not to mumble. She nods again. Okay then, let's do it, okay? I say with a small smile. She nods. We're still gonna talk after this though. She adds. I nod. Sorry, by the way, I wasn't peeking. I had knocked out my Netta and heard someone through the hole. I say as the image of her in her BR fills my brain. I blush and bit and smack myself. It's fine, you didn't see anything, right? She asks genuinely. Nope, of course not. I lie straight to her face. 20 good. She says with a sigh of relief. All right, well, let's win. I say, turning to the building and seeing Bakugo and Todoroki walking in. All right, team, you can attack in 30 seconds. All Might yells over the loudspeaker. I nod to myself and watch Uraraka fix her shoes. I start thinking about the attacks both Bakugo and Todoroki will throw at us. Then I realize that Todoroki quirk benefits him being long range. Uraraka, do you have a long-ranged attack? I ask, hoping for a yes. Yeah, I have one where I flick at them and it's just as powerful as a punch when it hits them. She responds, putting her finger up and mimicking a flick motion. 9. Good. Todoroki's quirk will probably benefit from long ranges, so try and close the distance, but if you can't, just use the long-range attack. I say, adjusting my sleeves. Good plan. She says, clenching her fist. Battle begin. All Might yells through the loudspeaker. Uraraka and I walk into the building and go up to the second floor. There we find Bakugo, who tries to sneak attack us from around the corner. I tackle Uraraka so she doesn't get hit by the explosion. You okay? I ask while looking back to Bakugo. Yeah. She responds with a shaky voice. I look back to her and see that she's blushing like crazy. I ignore it and get back to my feet. I grab her hand and get her back on her feet as well. Come on, do you fight me? Bakugo says, running toward us. I push Uraraka to the side as Bakugo sets off an explosion in my face. Midoriya. Uraraka yells, panicked by the explosion. The smoke clears and I smile at Bakugo. I feel burns on my face, but I've went through worse. Diamond nerd. Bakugo yells, surprised that I'm smiling at him. Uraraka, go find Todoroki and the bomb. I've got this. I say while wiping BLD off of my lip. All right. She says, starting to run away. So, you're confident, huh? Bakugo says, popping mini explosions in his hands. Yeah, not used to it, are you? I say with a smile as I stretch out my arm. This nerd, it'll kill you. He says, sprinting at me. Idiot, I think to myself with a smile. I start to walk toward him. He throws a right hook, but I counter and my punch sends him across the room. He lands and looks at me with wide eyes and he spits up a bit of BLD. He says, getting up. I told you, Bakugo, I'm quirkless, but I'll still beat you. I say with a sadistic smile. 8. No, you won't. He yells, getting up and pointing one of his grenade pros at me. What's that gonna do? I say, still smiling. You know my quirk. This isn't some stupid prop. This gathers my sweat for a huge blast. He says playing with the 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏. Young Bakugo, stop this, he can die. All Might yells over the loudspeakers. He won't die if he dodges. Bakugo yells as he lets off the huge explosion. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 POV, I hear a huge explosion as the building starts to shake. Currently Todoroki and I are fighting. I'm using Air Force as my main attack because Todoroki won't let me get in close. What the hell was that? I say to myself as the ground shakes. Todoroki sends his ice at me and I use Air Force to destroy it. I'm only using 20% of one for all to minimize the damage of the building. I tap into the earpiece we have and try and talk to Midoriya. Midoriya, are you okay? I say, but to no response. Ignore them, we're fighting now. Todoroki says, sending more ice at me. I let his ice get past me and then use a 40% punch to send a shockwave at him. He stumbles back and I take the opportunity to run at him and punch him in the gut. 7. God damn it. Todoroki says, holding his stomach. Won the battle's in my favor, I'll win. Izuku POV, my vision is blurry, smoke filled the room, I didn't dodge, my body feels like it's on fire from how hot it is in the room. Come on, do you no way you really died to that? Bakugo yells through the smoke. I stand up as the smoke clears. Bakugo's gauntlet is on the ground and he's staring at me with a sadistic smile. Demon nerd, thought you could beat me. He says, laughing. I turn away and start to run to the stairs. 1. You have the nerve to run now, you Demon Deku. Bakugo yells while chasing me. I click the earpiece All Might gave us. 𝗬𝗏𝗏, what floor are you on? I yell while still running. 5. She responds before it cuts out. I run up to the 5th floor and see 𝗬𝗏𝗏 and Todoroki exchanging punches. I guess she found a way to get close range. I run toward her and hear Bakugo jump up the stairs behind me. Demon nerd, get over here. Bakugo yells, jumping at me. I turn and punch him in the jaw, making him fly into the railing of the stairs. Midoriya, are you okay? 𝗬𝗏𝗏 asks, jumping away from Todoroki. I nod and we both charge Todoroki. He freezes my legs in place but can't freeze 𝗬𝗏𝗏's because she jumps and kicks him into the wall. They're both down, go to the bomb. 𝗬𝗏𝗏 orders. I run to the bomb but before I can touch it, ice stops me again. I look back and see Todoroki staring at us. 𝗬𝗏𝗏. Bakugo yells before putting an explosion into the back of my head, throwing me to the wall. Didn't that F hurt? I think to myself as I hold the back of my head. Midoriya, are you okay? 𝗬𝗏𝗏 yells while running over to me. She gets tripped and kneed in the stomach by Todoroki. She yelps in pain. I stand up and see 𝗬𝗏𝗏 on the floor staring at me with tears in her eyes. What? I need to save her, I think to myself. She tries to get up and gets punched by Bakugo, who laughs. Save her. Flashback, I'll be the first quirkless #1 hero. 3. Only Mom and Gran Torino know of my quirk and I'm gonna keep it that way. I won't use my quirk and I'll still beat him. I am quirkless and I'll still beat you. 2. Present, I close my eyes as a tear falls down my face. I activate my quirk and walk over to 𝗬𝗏𝗏. If I don't use all of my abilities while they try so hard. I think as I bend down and touch her shoulder. She starts to move. Then I shouldn't be a hero, so I'll give it my all. I'll use my quirk, and I'll save everyone that I can, just like a real hero does, I think, as 𝗬𝗏𝗏 starts to speak. 7. Midoriya, where are we? She says, looking around. I stop time. I say, helping her up. What? Aren't you quirkless? She yells in pure confusion. Plus, I lied, I have a quirk. Izuku POV, since when? She asks, slightly surprised. 7 months ago I was training and I unlocked it, I say, staring into the floor. 1. Well, she says, putting a hand on my arm. Why didn't you want to show anyone? She asks. I wanted to be the first quirkless hero. I wanted to prove people who said quirkless kids can't go anywhere wrong. Bakugo did bully me to suicide. I wanted to prove him wrong, I say with my arm starting to shake. 3. She grabs my hand and holds it. I can tell she's embarrassed and I'm blushing too, so it's slightly awkward. Look, I don't usually do stuff like this, but let's be friends. You can vent to me and such, yeah. I don't want to see someone with your potential become your own downfall. She says, smiling. I stay silent for a minute. Yeah, I'd like that. I say with a huge smile while holding her hand back. Also, what do you mean potential? I ask confused. Ayo, it's just I never had competition when I was in middle school quirk-wise, so seeing someone stronger than me is surprising. She says with a small laugh. 5, ahokai. I respond. Anyways, shall we beat these two? Uraraka asks while looking back to them. Yeah, we should. I say starting time. Huh. Bakugo says, darting his eyes to us. Why are you holding hands? Todoroki says with a deadpan tone. I blush and let go of her hand. How did you both get over there? Bakugo screams. Was that your demon quirk, huh? Bakugo yells. Yeah, it was. I say lightly. I look and see Uraraka smiling at me. I awakened my quirk 7 months ago. What it does isn't your business at the moment, but I could beat you with one hand behind my back. I say smirking. Huh. Bakugo says pissed off. I stop time and run behind him. I start to swing and start time again. It starts and my punch sends him into the wall. For how? Todoroki says, jumping away. Bakugo is unconscious. I look at Todoroki and smile. Behind you. I say to him. He turns and is met with a punch to the nose from Uraraka. He stumbles over to me and I kick him in the stomach, making him fall to the ground. Uraraka walks over and touches the bomb. We finally won. I release a breathe I didn't know I was holding in and walk over to Uraraka. Good job. I say, smiling. I feel my legs start to give out as I fall into Uraraka arms. I blank. Uraraka POV Midoriya falls at me and I catch him. Midoriya. I say, embarrassed that he's basically hugging me. I push him back and hold him up slightly. I see that his eyes are closed. He passed out, I think to myself before wrapping his arm around my shoulder and dragging him out of the building. Uraraka, are you okay? Mina says, walking up to me. I slowly nod. Here, let me bring young Midoriya to Recovery Girl. Dad says, walking up to me and taking Midoriya. 554, thanks All Might. I say with a smile. 3, no problem, young Uraraka. He says, walking away. Everyone walks back to the classroom and Aizawa gets up from his nap. Where is Midoriya? Aizawa asks. All Might took him to Recovery Girl. I say before sitting down in my seat. Okay, now, you can all be dismissed. Aizawa says, laying back down. As soon as I sat down. I think while rolling my eyes and leaving the room. I walk to Recovery Girl's office and see Midoriya yawning. Hey Midoriya. I say, waving. Oh, Uraraka, says, putting on a small smile. How are you feeling? I say, walking over and sitting on the chair next to his bed. I'm doing better. I think the pain from earlier set in, so I passed out. Sorry about that. He says, nervously giggling and holding the back of his head. 1, no problem, Midoriya. We won because of you, and thanks for saving me. I say, smiling and slightly blushing. He nods. It's what a hero would do, right? He rhetorically asks. Yeah. I respond with a small snicker. Anyways, seriously, thanks for helping me out with my issue, he says, smiling at his hand. Of course, help, it's what a hero does. I say, smiling. Dad walks into the room. 2, hey Ochako, what are yo dash? He freezes, realizing Midoriya is there. Oh, All Might, what are you doing here? I say while my teeth are gritted. Oh, well, Ms. Uraraka, it's nothing, I was just dash. Midoriya cuts him off. Why'd you call her by her first name? Midoriya questions with a curious look. Look, young Izuku, sometimes I just call people their first names, you know. Dad says. 2, All Might, I'd like to talk to you when Uraraka leaves, is that okay? Midoriya says with a serious tone. Dad nods. 1, well, I'll go now then. See you around, Midoriya. I say, walking out of the room and face palming. I take out my phone and text Dad to meet me in the room after he's done talking to Midoriya. Midoriya PV, so All Might, it's been a while. I say with a smile. Yeah, young Midoriya, I see you've become stronger and taller. All Might responds with a thumbs up. I nod. I also unlocked my quirk, I can stop time and start it. I can only stop it for 3 hours right now, but in the future it will be longer. I say, explaining my quirk. 13, that's amazing, young Midoriya. All Might says, taken back. I smile. Not only that, but I trained so hard that Gran Torino said I could beat you in your prime even without my quirk. I say excitedly. 18. Wow, so you can become the new #1 hero. All Might says with a nervous tone. I nod. That's great, young Izuku, but I have to go. He says, starting to walk out of the room. Bye, All Might. I say, waving. Bye-bye. All Might yells before leaving. All right, honey, you can leave now. Recovery Girl says to me. I nod and stand up. Thank you for your help, Recovery Girl. I say, bowing. No problem, it's my job. She responds with a small laugh. I walk out of the room and see All Might sneak into a room across from Recovery Girl's. I walk up to the door and hear people talking. Dad, you idiot, you almost revealed that I'm your kid. A girl's voice says. Ochako, I'm sorry, I didn't think about what I was saying. All Might responds to the person. Wait, Ochako. Ochako Uraraka is All Might's daughter. I think to myself. I slip and bash my head against the door. I think to myself as I try and back away. The door opens and All Might stares at me. You heard everything, didn't you? He says. I slowly nod and he grabs me, dragging me into the room. Plus, you can't tell anyone about this, okay? Izuku, wait, so basically, Uraraka is your daughter, and you are keeping it secret, yes? I say, just to clarify. Yes. All Might says, putting his hand on Uraraka's shoulder. Wow, that's a lot. Does that also mean you have the same quirk? I genuinely ask. Well yeah, Uraraka says, making All Might dart his eyes to her. Ochako, I don't think we should tell him. All Might says, trying to keep his composure. He passed his quirk down to me. I'm his daughter and successor. Uraraka says nonchalantly. All Might holds his head. Why? He says, squeezing his eyes shut. Don't worry, Dad, he's stronger than both of us, won't want our power anyways. Uraraka says, hugging All Might. You can get your power taken. I ask, confused. Here, the power is called One for All. Ochako here is its 9th user. The power is passed down by generation for one ultimate purpose, to defeat All for One. All Might says, crossing his arms. So Uraraka will have to fight someone even you couldn't beat. I ask, concerned. I forgot to add, with each generation the power gains strength, and I almost beat All for One. Now Ochako will most likely be able to. All Might says, rubbing Uraraka's head. Got it, well, sorry for intruding. I say, scratching the back of my head. No problem anyways, wanna walk home together? Uraraka asks me with a small blush. Sure, why not? I respond, blushing a bit. I see All Might stare at me with a death glare. 5 All Might. Why don't you join us? You can say hi to my mom. I say, trying to get myself out of death's door. Yes, young Midoriya, of course I'll come see your mother. All Might says, smiling. 8 Okay, Uraraka says in a clearly disappointed tone. 2 I don't get why she'd want it to be just us. Maybe it's just that having a persistent parent that won't let you do much alone makes her one a rebel. 8 We all walk out of the closet and walk outside. Luckily no one saw all of us coming out of a closet. It might have caused a scandal. 7 So where do you live? Uraraka asks while looking over to me. I live in an apartment complex nearby. I respond, looking past All Might to her. Of course, All Might took the middle spot. I can tell he's a bit overprotective now that I know she's his daughter. Same. Uraraka says, smiling. Oh, nice. I respond, trying to ignore the 7-foot giant in between us. 11 It's not like I want to flirt with her or anything pervy, I just want to have a normal conversation without someone being in the middle of us. She feels like the first real friend I ever had, even if I only met her yesterday. I want to be able to get to know her better without her father butting in, even though her father is my idol. So, young Midoriya, you did very good in today combat training, and I must thank you for saving my daughter from young Bakugo. All Might says, interrupting the silence. No problem, although it did take a lot for me to use my quirk. I couldn't just let her get hurt like that, you know, especially because I know what a point-blank explosion from Bakugo actually feels. I say, laughing a bit. 5 All Might laughs, but I see Uraraka's face become concerned. Hey Midoriya, when we get to your house do you want to talk like we had planned? Uraraka asks me with a smile. I nod. What do you need to talk about? All Might asks in a curious tone. It's nothing, Dad, don't worry about it. 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 says, smiling. All Might turns to me with another death glare. She's not lying, we just want to talk. I say, giving a death glare back to him. For we stare at each other for a little longer before 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 interrupts. Guys, why are you staring at each other? She says, worried. Oh, it's nothing, sweetie. All Might says, looking away. Yeah, it's just crazy, we haven't talked to each other in almost a year. All Might. Why not let me talk to your daughter? We barely even know each other. I say, purposely annoying him. I agree, I want to know more about Midoriya. 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 says, helping me team up on him. Fine, fine. You guys can be alone. He says, giving up. 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 and I glance at each other and smirk. 6. We walk up to the apartment complex, and I turn back to them. And we are here. I say, throwing my hands up toward the building. Wait, 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 says, surprised. I question. You live at the building right next to mine. 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 yells. 48. Wait, really? I ask in disbelief. She confirms it and points to her window. Turns out it's right across from mine. We walk up to my floor and open the door. 2. Hey Mom. I'm home and I brought a special guest. I yell into the apartment. I see my mom make a mad dash into the living room. I see her eyes widen. A girl. She yells before fainting. 12. I'd expect her to be more surprised that All Might is here. I say, picking her up and putting her on the couch. 1. Yeah, All Might says, sitting down. 4. I guess you weren't much of a player before high school, huh? 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 says, making me cringe. Yeah, not so much. I say, nervously laughing. Mom wakes up and looks over to see 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏. Oh my God, are you Izuku's girlfriend? She asks 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏. For I feel my face heat up as I face palm. No Mom, she's not my girlfriend, we met yesterday. I say, trying to keep my cool. Ms. Midoriya, this is my daughter, Ochako 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏. All Might says, trying to ignore the fact of 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 being referenced as my girlfriend. Hello young lady, I'm 𝐒𝐭 Midoriya, but just call me 𝗒𝐭. Mom says to 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 while shaking her hand. 3. Okay 𝗒𝐭, you can call me Ochako then. 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 says, shaking back and smiling. My little Izuku here isn't used to having friends, so thank you so much for being his friend. Mom says while starting to cry. 5. I cringe to myself because it's fairly embarrassing. No problem, Midoriya is a great future hero and I bet everyone in class will want to be friends with him. 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 says, smiling to my mom. For Mom looks at me and smiles. I can tell that she's happy I'm making friends and having a good time at you. Yes, I agree, young Midoriya saved my daughter here today during training. I thank the both of you for your help. All Might says, bowing down. 1. Of course my baby is a hero. Mom says, gripping me into a hug. I cringe and look back to see 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 start to giggle. For some reason it puts a smile on my face. No problem, All Might, even if she wasn't your daughter I would have done it. I say, smiling at 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 after I get out of my mom's vice grip. 2. Would you guys like to stay for dinner? My mom asks, hopping off of the couch. Well, I have to get back to the school for paperwork, so I'll have to pass. All Might says while smiling. 1. I'll stay if I'm welcomed. 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 says, scratching the back of her head. 3. Of course. Mom says, running over to the kitchen. All right Ochako, come home later, I'll be waiting, and don't overstay your welcome. All Might says, walking out of the apartment. 𝗬𝗏𝗧𝗏 sighs and walks over to me. You want to talk now? She asks me. I nod and bring her to my room. I shut and lock the door so Mom doesn't come in and hear us. So, I say, waiting for her to start. Did Bakugo really drive you to suicide? Izuku, I wasn't expecting this question because I completely forgot why she wanted to talk. He did last year. I respond, looking down. I feel a flick on my forehead and look up to see her with a ticked-off expression. Dumbass, why would you ever try and kill yourself? You're such a good guy. She says, concerned. 1. Well, in middle school I was a scrawny, shy, quirkless boy. Bakugo took advantage of that and bullied me. I had no faith and one day he told me to take a swan dive off of the roof, so I did. I say as tears threaten to fall from my eyes. She covers her mouth with her hands and I see tears about to leave her eyes. Luckily, your father was there and he caught me, then he gave me the opportunity to train. Then I discovered my quirk and here I am today, with my first real friend. I say, smiling at her. She starts bawling and hugs me, stuffing my face into her chest area. I hug back of course, but with a huge blush on my face. 7. Never try that again, okay? You're a hero now, you have an amazing power, an amazing soul, and you also have me. She says to me with a serious tone. But we just met yesterday, I say. That doesn't matter, Midoriya already found out so much about you and vice versa, so I can confidently say we'll be friends for a long time. She says, running her hands through my hair. I let loose and start to bawl my eyes out. I cried a lot, but looking back as a changed person I just couldn't hold it back. At the time I knew it was bad, but letting myself take in the hardships I've been through is something I used to refuse to do. 8. I hug her again and let it all out. Someone finally able to help me besides my mom, my first real friend, 𝐒𝐻𝐈𝐺𝐻𝗔 daughter no Chako Uraraka, is my first friend. We stay embraced for a while before letting up. I looked into her eyes and saw a sparkle. I don't know if it was actually a sparkle, but it made me smile. Uraraka, thank you so much, I say, smiling. No problem, Midoriya, she says, staring at me. We both start to blush. We slowly start to lean into each other. My body is moving on its own and we both go tomato red. 9. We're interrupted by a knock on the door. 2. Izuku. I hear mom yell. For I fall back off of my bed and straight onto but making Uraraka laugh. 1. SEC mom. I yell. I get up and run over to the door. I open in and she's standing there. Why'd you lock the door? Mom asks in a confused tone. She looks behind me and sees Uraraka on my bed blushing. My mom's eyes widen. What were you doing with her on your bed? My mom yells in surprise. 5. Nothing. Cool down, mom, we didn't do anything, we were just talking. I say, trying to calm her down. I look back and see Uraraka, who is purely red and getting up. Mom cuts me off. Uraraka, did you and my son have a stash? I slam the door in her face. 9. I look over to Uraraka, who looks like she's a tomato cosplayer. Look, I'm sorry about her, she's just not used to me having people over, and not only that, a female over here, you know. I say, trying to ignore my mother's knocks on the door. She nods and giggles a bit. She jumps up and walks next to me. I open the door. 𝗵𝗲's dinner's ready. Mom says, looking like she just saw a ghost. We walk out and all sit to have dinner. Thank you for the food, Inko, Uraraka says to mom. 2. Yes, of course, Uraraka. Mom says, biting into her food. 𝗬𝗵𝗲, how was your day? I ask, trying to break the awkward tension. Fine, I saw All Might and found out you made 𝐴𝐵𝑟𝑖𝑒nd, she says, spacing out. That's great, huh? I say, just to say something. So, Uraraka, how's the food? I ask Uraraka. 1. Yeah, it's pretty good, Midoriya. Uraraka says, slightly getting red. You should call Izuku by his first name so I don't get confused when you call him Midoriya, at least around me. Mom says, followed by a audible gulp. 1. So Izuku, you remember what we're doing in school tomorrow? Uraraka asks, making me blush. Only my mom has called me my first name while her All Might and Grand Terino. She's the first person my age well no Bakugo did when we were kids, the first young girl to call me my first name, I think to myself while still blushing. 2. No sorry I don't, but yeah, I just don't remember. I respond in the most awkward tone I could. Oh no, my mom says, face palming. What, mom? I say, trying to hide my embarrassment. Nothing, Izuku, you're just making mama so proud, she says, smiling. 1. Sarcasm, I think to myself as I sigh. After a couple minutes of silence, I finish eating and stand up. Be right back. I say, walking away and going into the bathroom. I walk into the bathroom and turn on the sink. I splash my face with water and look at myself. Why am I feeling sued? I think to myself. 7. I shake my head back and forth and walk back to the door. I open it and I'm met with Uraraka standing in front of me. I get startled and slip forward. I land on her and she's on the floor with me, holding myself up above her. If my mom saw this, she'd think we were doing something else. 3. Izuku. I hear my mom yell as I turn to her. Of course she comes around the corner. I think to myself as I blush. Sorry, I say holding out my hand for her. I pull her up and let go of her hand. It's fine Izuku, you didn't mean to, 𝗬𝗏 says trying to keep things normal. Well, I better go home now, it's getting late, but thank you for having me for dinner, it was very good. She says to my mom. I'll see you tomorrow at school, okay Izuku? She says turning to me. I'll see you tomorrow, I say waving. She leaves and I'm left in the hallway silent with my mom. Well, that was a mess. Mom says facepalming. What how? She ate with us, that's what she was here to do. I say confused. You're way too dense, you don't even realize you like her. Mom says with a small sigh. 3. I don't like her, what do you mean? We met yesterday, how could I fall for someone that quick? I ask as I roll my eyes and walk into my room. I'm going to sleep. I say before shutting my door. I lay in my bed and feel my face heat up. She's completely wrong, I do realize that I like her, that's why I was so embarrassed. 𝗧𝗵𝗲 I'm laying in my bed trying to get my mind off of 𝗬𝗏 and I hear a pop on my window. I ignore it at first but then hear it again and go over to see 𝗬𝗏 in the window across from mine. I open the window and start to talk. 𝗬𝗏, we're window neighbors too. I ask in disbelief. For she giggles and nods. Yeah, pretty cool huh? She says smiling. I slightly smile as I see her looking at me. So hats up. I ask trying to start a conversation. Well, I wanted to say sorry because when I was over everything got kind of awkward between you and your mom and I think she got the wrong idea about us, you know. She says with an awkward laugh. I nod. I didn't expect her to like me anyways. I think to myself. 1. It's cool, just a series of unfortunate events that made us look like more than friends. I say laughing. 1. If only you knew I wanted to be more than friends. I've never felt this way about a girl, so it's weird for me, but I know it's some sort of crush. I think as she smells the cold fall air. 2. The smell of fall is so nice, it's not too hot like summer or cold like winter, it's perfect. She says resting her chin on her arm. 1. Yeah, I agree, it's optimal weather for me. I say smiling at her still. 1. I mimic the way she's positioned in the window and she laughs. Huh? I ask confused. You took the same position as I did in the window, it's just kinda cute, it seems you copy me without thinking. She says. I blush and laugh a bit. I guess you're so perfect I instinctively copy you. I say without thinking about how she could take it. 11. I meant how she fights and that I still auto-copy her movements even when not fighting, but it didn't come off like that. She blushes harder than I've seen. Thanks, I appreciate that. She says scratching the back of her head. Yeah, no problem, anyways, it's getting late, I'm gonna go to bed. She says stretching. Alright, well, good night 𝗬𝗏. I say waving. 1. Night Izuku. She says before closing her window and walking away. She called me Izuku even when she didn't need to. I think to myself with a small blush as I walk away and sit down on my bed. Should I call her 𝗬𝗏? I don't know, calling a girl her first name could cause people to think we are dating. I could just say that it's easier than 𝗬𝗏. The minute I'm going to sleep, my conflicted thoughts make me not able to sleep for majority of the night. The next morning I walk outside and yawn. I slept for 3 hours last night because of my conflicting thoughts about 𝗬𝗏. 2. I see 𝗬𝗏 walk up to me. Hey Izuku, wanna walk to school together? She asks me, getting slightly to close. 𝐒𝐩𝐢𝐳, let's go. I say starting to walk. I blush realizing I called her by her first name and I turn to see her standing in the same spot also blushing. 1. Sorry you were calling me Izuku, so I though dash. She puts a finger on my lips. It's fine, call me whatever you feel comfortable with. She says smiling with a small blush. Hello young Midoriya, how are you? 𝗏𝗏 says screaming as 𝗬𝗏 quickly takes her finger off my lips and turns around. Hey 𝗏𝗏, I'm doing good, you? I ask trying to avoid eye contact. Great young Midoriya. Let's head to the school now, shall we? Yes. I nod and give a toothy grin. On the inside I'm fighting with him though. For God, I get she's your daughter, but let me have some alone time with her. I think to myself while gritting my teeth. Actually, 𝗏𝗏, is it okay if 𝗬𝗏 and I walk to school alone? I ask, surprising myself. Oh, you call her 𝗬𝗏 now? 𝗏𝗏 says in an angry dad voice. 21. I do. I say with an idea popping into my mind. I'd rather all of us going together to school. All Might says, putting a hand on Ochako's shoulder. 2. I'd rather not, I say before stopping time. I walk over and touch Ochako's shoulder, making her able to move and operate. Izuku. He's gonna be mad when he finds us. She says as we walk toward school. We'll be fine, don't worry about it, and if he's mad I'll just use my quirk and leave. I say, starting to laugh to myself. She giggles, which makes me smile. We walk to school and talk about what she had been doing before high school. She also told me about a lot of boys asking her out and how it's annoying because she has her sights on someone. I'm hoping it's me, but if not, as long as she's happy, I guess I'm fine too. 14. Once we walk into school, I start time again and people dart eyes toward us. I forgot I didn't tell everyone about my quirk. Not only that, but the previous day I did have a tiny breakdown, so I can't blame them for looking my way. I walk into class and everyone is sitting in their seats. I guess they were early. Aizawa walks in behind me. Morning, problem child. He says before walking past me. Hey, eraser. I respond, which makes him glare at me. Mr. Aizawa. I correct myself. You seem to be in a good mood. He says, glancing over at Ochako. Yeah, I guess. I say, smiling. I look over and see the whole class in awe. I guess I really am a gloomy guy if the whole class is surprised that I'm happy. Midoriya, are you holding hands with Uraraka? Aizawa says, making my heart sink. 9. I let go of her hand that I didn't even know I was holding. Well, when I stop time I can only make someone else be able to walk around with me if I hold their hand, so I had to hold her hand so we could talk, I say, hoping they'd buy the lie. 3. That makes sense. Kaminari says like he just discovered why his food had gone missing while in a zoo full of roaming monkeys. 6. I get a dirty look from Aizawa. He either didn't buy it or didn't care. I walk to my seat with Ochako close behind. Anyways, class today is just normal classes, but tomorrow we will be going to the USJ for combat training. Aizawa says, writing down USJ on the chalkboard. Universal Studios J-. Kaminari gets cut off with a scarf being wrapped around his throat from Aizawa. Luckily he got to him before I could. I hate loud noises. No, dumbass, this is you. Not some elementary school field trip. I guess all of the short-circuiting got to your brain. Aizawa says, getting a sigh from Kaminari. 1. Unnecessary roughness. I hear Kirishima say with a small snicker. Anyways, we're going tomorrow, so be prepared to travel, bring your hero costume and all that stuff. If you're not ready, then don't come at all, you'll be useless. Aizawa says before picking up his sleeping bag. Now go to your next class and leave me alone. He says, plopping onto the floor. After all of the classes, Ochako and I meet up at the front of the school. Hey Izuku, how was the rest of your classes? She asks me while stretching. 3. Boring, everyone is so loud I don't like it, I say to her as we start walking. What about when our class is loud? She asks, taking an earphone out of her ear and putting it in its case. Well, I don't want to leave that class, I have a friend in that class, I say, trying not to blush. I hear her giggle. You're adorable. She says, followed by another giggle. Is that a good thing? I ask, slightly confused. Yeah, it is. Trust me, you'd rather be adorable than bitchy like Bakugo. See, you're cute how you act, he's not. She says, failing to explain it. Oh, I act reassured. Hello, young Midoriya. Before he can finish, I stop time and touch Ochako's shoulder. 1. Anyways, wanna head home now? I ask while she looks behind us. You don't like my dad, huh? She asks after catching up to me. Nah, I idolize him, but I want to talk to you more than him. I say, putting my hands in my pockets. Also that lie in the morning, that we had to hold hands while your quirk was activated, it was smart and thanks for getting us out of that. She says, putting a thumbs up. Yeah, no problem. I respond, smiling back. My hand slowly comes out of my pocket and I feel her hand touch mine. I flinch at first but then let her take my hand. So we do need to hold hands, huh? She says, making an excuse to hold my hand. Not that I mind, but she could have just asked. Yeah, not like we need to have time stop to do it though, I say, making her and I both blush. Yeah, she agrees as she looks back in front of us. Oiri, basically back at the apartment complexes. I say, looking in front of us. Yo, I guess we should go now, she says, letting go of my hand. I mean, I still have 2 hours and 50 minutes left until my quirk is exhausted. The recharge time isn't that much, so if you want we can hang out. I say, trying to find an excuse to spend time with her. Plus, I mean, sure, why not? She says, turning back to me and smiling. So where do you want to go? Ochako asks me as we walk toward the city. Well, I want to show you something, I say with a smirk on my face. I never told her that with my quirk we can defy gravity, we could walk up buildings and stuff, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. 6. What is it? She asks with a curious look. Just wait, we'll go to the city and go to the top of the largest building. Doesn't that sound fun? I say, looking at her with a toothy grin. She giggles and nods. I guess so, she says, still nodding. We walk to the city and look around. I haven't been here since Dad took me like 5 years ago while he was recovering from an injury, she says, looking at a street sign. 1. I've been here a few times in middle school, but not in the last 10 months because of the training, I say, yawning. Anyways, wanna go to the top of that building now? I say, pointing to the building. She nods and we walk to the front of the building. Ugh, stairs, she sighs. What about them? I ask, looking over to her. Well, she starts blushing. She puts her arms around her chest area. I got the hint. 7. Luckily we don't need stairs, I say, jumping onto the side of the building. She looks at me like I just unlocked another quirk. I forgot to tell you, our gravity is different here because in no time is stopped and stuff, I say, lying right through my teeth. 5. You planned this, didn't you? She says with a giggle. Yup, I respond confidently. She jumps up and we start walking up the building. So you do this often? She asks, walking closer to me. Not much, but in America I did it a bit. Once I went to the top of the Empire State Building. It was a nice but view, I say, remembering the fun experience. 5. She nods a bit. That's amazing. So you trained in New York City? She asks, looking at me. Well, like 25 minutes away, but that's where I did most of my vigilante work, I say, before slapping my hand on my mouth. Vigilante work? She says, concerned. Well, yeah, I needed to learn to use my quirk for long amounts of time, so stopping time would be a waste of time if I didn't save anyone, you know, I say, backing up my claim. So you only did it when time was stopped? She asks. Well, a few times I acted on impulse, but I stopped time so it just looked like a boy saved someone but disappeared right after an O, I say, putting my hands behind my head. I get it. Well, at least you could feel like a hero, she says, laughing. I see her turn around and panic a bit. I put my hand on her cheek and make her look at me. She blushes. Don't look down. Trust me, you might not be able to fall, but I was frozen in fear for 30 minutes once. Not fun knowing time's running out, I say, smiling and slightly laughing. 3. She nods and I take my hand away from her face. We finish walking to the top and sit down on the edge. I start time again and we watch the cars at the bottom go by. It's so high, she says, sort of scared. I put my hand over hers. Remember, I'm not out of time, so even if you fall, I'll save you in a heartbeat, I say, smiling. She blushes again. Real playboy Izuku, I think to myself with a smirk. 3. Wait, where'd I get this confidence from? This is All Might's daughter. Hyochako Uraraka affiliation with All Might doesn't matter, still her own person. That's who I like, not All Might's daughter, but Ochako Uraraka, I think to myself. Izuku, Ochako says, waving her hand in front of my face. Sorry, spaced out Ino, I say, dangling my feet off of the building. It's fine, Ino, we should do this more often. I know it's random, but like I enjoy spending time with you, she says with a tint of red on her face. 1. Yes, same. I think you might not be my first with only being friends, I say innocently. 1. I soon notice how SXL that sounded. What? Ochako screams, slipping off of the building. I sigh as I hear her scream. I stop time and walk into the side of the building. I grab Ochako's hand and lead her frozen body down to the ground. During my quirk, it only allows me to make people able to move by touching their shoulder. I touch her shoulder and she screams before I put my hand over her mouth. She looks at me before flicking me in the forehead. I take my hand off of her mouth and she sighs. Why'd you have to go and say stuff like that? Do you even think about what you say before you say it? She asks, turning around. Nope, what I meant is that you're my best friend, I say with an awkward smile. 3. She smirks. Okay dope, she says getting on her tippy toes and poking my nose. 9. Sometimes I forget she's only 5. 6. You're so short, I say with a snicker. Hey, I'm not as short as I was before. One for all, I used to only be 5'0" foot. She says, puffing her cheeks. 1. I laugh at her before she playfully punches me in the gut. She buries her head into my chest and I rub the back of her head. 2. You're a big softy, you know that, I say smiling. 3. Says the one letting me do this. She says, wrapping her arms around me. You know it scared me when I was falling, she says quietly. I know, you didn't say it but I could tell. I say, why do you think I'm comforting you, huh? You don't think I'm this nice, do you? I say as a joke, not sure if she understood it though. You're a big teddy bear, a big strong one. She says, starting to hug me. Yeah, let's go back home. I say, starting time. People start to walk past us, but a few glances are thrown at us. Makes sense because to them we just appeared. Okay, can we stop time though? 𝗵𝘃𝗁𝗍𝗔𝗂's voice is stopped by a voice booming over hers. So, young Midoriya, you and my daughter seem to be having fun, I hear All Might say to me. 5. I stop time quickly and grab 𝗂𝗧𝗪𝗀's hand. I tap her shoulder and she looks surprised. How the hell did he find us? She asks after realizing I stopped time. 4. I have no clue, but we have to go back home and act like nothing happened. He did find us at an awkward moment, don't you think? I say, trying not to blush. Yeah, only awkward when people can see us though, she says, blushing. I nod without looking at her. We walk home and separate. We meet out both of our bedroom windows and talk until dark. At one point All Might talk to me, but it was only about using my quirk in public. Hopefully he will accept the fact that his daughter and I are getting close. He's really playing into the overprotective dad part. Tomorrow's the USJ trip, so that's gonna be fun, but until then time to go to sleep. Plus at the time I didn't know, but the USJ trip would end up changing my life. Izuku, so dude, when are you gonna talk to the others? Kaminari asks me as I sit at the back of the bus on the way to the UD. Yeah man, you're so strong but you're like antisocial, well with the exception of Uraraka. Kirishima adds as I yawn. I don't want to talk to people that much. Is that really a problem? Eventually we'll probably become friends, but I'm not the type to trust immediately anymore. I respond looking out the window. I mean, I did trust Ochako quick, but that's because she's also my idol's daughter, so I wouldn't have to worry about her being a scumbag. I think to myself. 4. I mean, I kind of get that. I've seen your relationship with Bakugo, Siro says after clearly eavesdropping, although everyone was looking at me anyways. What is the deal with you and Uraraka, huh? Mineta says with a pervy smile. I give him an angry look. Come on, give us the juicy details, Midoriya. Mineta says, still being persistent. F off, midget. There's nothing going on. I snap at him. Everyone looks at me and I roll my eyes and look out of the window again. Perv, I hear Ochako mumble. Wait, was she talking to me or the dwarf? I think to myself. 7. The bus slows to a stop. Okay class, follow me. Aizawa says as the bus opens its door. We all walk into the USJ and group up with Aizawa and the pro hero 13. 1. And they even got fake villains. Kaminari says looking past the 2 teachers. I look over and see hundreds of villains in the back. There's 2 people in the middle, one has hands on his face and the other looks like purple gas. Weird. Those aren't fake. Aizawa says looking at us. What? Mineta screams. Get back, you idiots. Aizawa yells as he jumps up onto a rail. What the hell, should I stop this? I think to myself as I walk up next to the rail that Aizawa is on. Midoriya get bidash. I stop time cutting him off. When I walk over to the guy with hands on his face, I run up behind him and start time. Gotta find out what his quirk is. I think to myself as the man starts to speak. Where'd that green brat go? He says, taking a hand off of his face. Midoriya, where'd you go? I hear some of my classmates yelling. Aizawa jumps down to where the handman is and tries to punch him. The man reaches out and touches Aizawa's arm. My eyes widen as I see Aizawa's fingers start to disintegrate. Not even a second later I stop time. I run up to the person and throw a punch, As I punch I start time and he goes flying a few yards away. Midoriya. Aizawa yells to me. I get it, I shouldn't fight, but guess what, I'm already here so there's no stopping me now. I say back as I run at Handman. I punch him in the gut making him spit up 𝗵𝘃𝗲. What the hell are you? I ask. He smiles and laughs a bit. As if a little kid could kill me. He yells back. No mu, get him. He continues. His smile sends shivers down my spine. Next thing I know I get punched in the gut harder than I even knew was possible. I get sent flying toward the rest of the students. That definitely broke a few ribs. I think to myself as I hold my side. Izuku. Ochako yells running to me. She bends down next to me. Are you okay? She asks. No, I'm not, but I don't care. Can you help me up? We need to stop that thing. I say, getting onto my knees. She helps me up and I hold my side as I see the Nomu kicking Aizawa's butt. I grunt as I breathe in. I stop time and touch Ochako's shoulder. Izuku, you shouldn't, you're too hurt. Ochako says as I start to walk toward Aizawa and the villains. I look back at her. I'm not letting Aizawa die, you can stay back if you want, but I'm gonna be a hero. I say before turning back around and starting to run toward Aizawa. I hesitate as the pain in my ribs intensifies. I look back to Ochako to see her going and touching everyone's shoulders in Class 1A. They all start moving. What the hell is this? I hear Bakugo yell as I try to ignore it. I turn back to Aizawa and start to walk again. I run at the Nomu and start time as I throw a punch. It sends the Noma back maybe 100 feet. 1. Midoriya, stop. Aizawa says, grabbing my collar. No. I yell. I'm struggling to breathe. I might have punctured a lung. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna go out a hero. I think to myself as I stop time and get out of Aizawa's grasp. I start time again because of the pain being worse when using my quirk. I run at the Nomu and punch it in the head. It is barely affected and it punches me in the side making me scream in pain. For I stop time even though it causes pain. I walk up to the Nomu and deliver as many full power punches as I can before I feel my left leg give out. I fall to one knee. I do my best to jump backward as I start time. 2. The Nomu flies out of the building from the pure strength of my punches. I cough out BLD as I hear a large stomp. Everything will be alright because I am here. All Might's catchphrase, this kid should die before we go, I hear the Handman say as footsteps get closer to me. 2. I use the rest of my energy to get up and stop time. I punch the man back so he would hit a wall at the other side of the 𝐎𝐳. I limp my way to All Might and touch his shoulder. Young Midoriya. Where are we? He says, looking around. My quirk, I used it and punched the man with hands on his body that way, I say, pointing to the field of trees that were knocked over. Okay, young Midoriya now, he says before I start time and fall to the ground. I cough BLD as I stare at the ground. Deku. I hear Bakugo yell as I see his foot. 2. Izuku, are you okay? Ochako rolls me onto my back and smacks my face, waking me up slightly. 1. I'm sorry, I thought I could beat anyone, I say with a small snicker. Demon nerd, why'd you do that, huh? Bakugo asks, grabbing my collar. I'm the only one who stood a chance against that thing. I say, but have a coughing fit right after. 𝗵𝘃𝗧𝗏, he says, punching me in the face. 4. Bakugo, stop. Ochako says, trying to push him away. Kaken. I say, making the 2 go silent. What you DMN nerd? He says with tears threatening his eyes. I put a sadistic smile onto my face and stare at him. Lay a finger on her and I'll kill you, I say as BLD drips from my mouth. He backs up away from her and turns around. Young Midoriya. I hear All Might say as he runs toward us. I stare at the sky. Hey Ochako, I say as tears flow down my face. Huh, what is it? She says, leaning over my body. Young Midoriya, stay with me. All Might says. I'm sorry, All Might, I say. You did nothing wrong. He responds, wrapping bandage around my torso. I scream in pain. Izuku, what were you going to say to me? Ochako asks, putting her hands on my face. Thank you for being my friend, I say with a smile as my eyes slowly close. 7. I lose consciousness. Izuku POV, my eyes shoot open and I'm in Recovery Girl's office. I start to breathe heavily and a small pain in my ribs comes back. I cough a bit, which hurts worse. The door burst open and recovery girl walks in. "Midoriya, you've woken up, alright, calm down," she says, walking up and kissing me on the forehead. The pain slowly goes away, but I start to feel tired again. "Am I okay?" I ask as I start to breathe normally. "Well, you weren't. You have been asleep for like a month now. You had 4 broken ribs and a punctured lung. You should be dead, but Ochako Uraraka brought you back here along with All Might. They told me you were reckless, but if it weren't for you then everyone would have been dead," she says, checking some papers. "Oh," I respond, thinking about Ochako. "So it's been a month. Wait, when's the sports festival?" I ask, trying to get up. "In 2 weeks, you'll have to stay the night here, but tomorrow I can let you go," she says, checking something off with a pencil. "Okay, I'm gonna go to sleep," I say before closing my eyes. Uraraka POV Izuku has been out for like a month. It's back to boys asking me out and me rejecting them. I feel bad, but like, sorry. Number 4, over the month I've realized how close you can get with someone in 3 days. I've also found out that I developed feelings for him, kind of embarrassing. Dad has been training me with One for All. I'm at 80%, which is cool. I'm already as strong as Dad's prime 100%. The sports festival is in 2 weeks, so we are trying to squeeze in as much training as possible. 6. The rest of class, on the other hand, has carried on as usual. They didn't know Izuku well enough to cry over his small coma, but they were thankful for his sacrifice during the USJ. Sometimes I have nightmares about seeing his body on the floor. He spoke to me like he knew he was gonna die. It scared me that he was prepared to die so early. I walk into class 1A and see everyone else talking to each other, except Bakugo, of course. He showed remorse toward Izuku but called him an idiot for doing what he did. I don't blame him that much. I was angry at first too. He's been extra moody since it happened though, not sure if it's jealousy that Izuku was the hero or that he's just worried for his childhood friend, even though they weren't friends for majority of the time pre-high school. I sit down and Aizawa walks in. He wasn't that injured from the USJ because of Izuku's help. "Alright everyone, today we're gonna do absolutely nothing but train. You kids have to get ready for the sports festival, so go. I shouldn't have to tell you where to go," Aizawa says, laying down in his sleeping bag. Izuku POV I wake up and look outside. It's nighttime now. Recovery girl is standing next to my bed. Izuku, you've woken up," Recovery girl says with a smile. "Yoan, can I leave?" I ask, thinking about where the others are. "Now actually you're fully healed. Classes ended hours ago, so just go home," she says, patting my shoulder. "Thank you," I say, getting up and walking out of the room. I walk home and open the door to see my mom. She immediately burst into tears. "Izuku, I thought I lost you," she says in between tears. "I'm fine, Mom. Trust me, I won't get hurt like that again," I say, hugging her. "You better not. I thought you were dead," she says, followed with a sniffle. "What time is it?" I ask, looking around the house. "It's 1:30 in the morning. I've been worried sick for like a month," she says, breaking the hug. "Sorry," I say, yawning. "You should go to sleep, honey," Mom says, walking me toward my room. "Okay, I will," I respond, walking into my room and turning back to her. "Night, Mom, love you," I say, smiling. "Good night, sweetie," she responds as I close my door. I walk up to my window and look at Ochako's window. I wonder how the month for them has been. Cold and have been that weird without me. They probably got stronger while I was gone, I think to myself as I stare at Ochako's window. Suddenly the curtain to her window opens and I see her looking right back at me. Her eyes widen as she quickly opens her window. I mimic her and open my window. "Izuku," she yells. "Hey," I respond with a small smirk. "Meet me down between the apartments," she says before closing her window and running out of view. I close my window before stopping time and walking past my mom to go outside. Once I leave the apartment, I start time again and dash down to the place between our apartments. She runs out of her building and crashes into me, bringing me into a hug. "You dumbass," she says, starting to sob. "What?" I ask, confused as I hug her back. "Why'd you do that?" she yells, sniffling. "I had to save everyone. I didn't expect to get beat half to death, but as long as everyone was okay, it's fine," I say, stroking her hair. "I missed you," she says, gripping down on my shirt. "Why'd you miss me?" Also, what did you guys do in class while I was gone? I ask as she stops hugging me. You're an idiot, she says, putting her hand on my face. What h-? She cuts me off with something I never thought she'd do. I knew I had feelings for her, but I never expected her to reciprocate those feelings. But here I was in the middle of the night, in the middle of the street, kissing 𝐒𝐻𝗵𝗲 𝗔𝗂𝘁𝗵. Izuku POV 𝗂𝐻𝗵𝗲 breaks the kiss and my face goes numb. I see her blush as she backs away. I'm sorry, she says, continuing to back away from me. I walk closer to her and grab her hand. She lets out before I pull her toward me. I grab her chin and close the gap between us. I feel myself heating up. I break the kiss and stare into her eyes. Izuku, she stutters. 𝗂𝐻𝗵𝗲, can I ask you a question? I say, not breaking eye contact. What is it? She asks, blushing even harder. Do you want to go on a date with me? I ask, making her eyes widen. Yeah, I do actually, she says, starting to smile. I wipe the tears off of her face and smile too. Now stop crying, okay? I want to see you happy, I say, giggling. She snickers and nods. Okay, she says. Anyways, we should go to bed, I say, looking around and seeing all of the lights out. Yeah, I forgot how late it was, she says, laughing. Anyways, I'll be going now, I say before pulling her into a hug. She hugs back. I love you, she says, still hugging me. I blush and smile. Love you too, I say before letting go and turning around. She taps on my shoulder and I turn around to receive a kiss on the cheek. Bye, she's saying, waving while running back to her building. I walk back to my building with a smile. Even though I've only been up for like an hour, I think today was really good. 𝗂𝗵𝗲 POV, I walk into my house and am met with a 7-foot-tall giant. 𝗂𝗵𝗲, what were you doing out this late? He asks in a stern tone. Well, Izuku got home and I saw him in my window, so I went out to him and talked to him for a bit, I say, making him raise an eyebrow. So talking includes kissing him, huh? He says. 6 I blush. You saw that? I ask, knowing the answer. Yes, now tell me, do you really love young Midoriya? Yeah, 𝐼𝐼's the only boy that's not a pervert and asks me out every 2 seconds. He's nice and he has a real hero spirit, I say, defending Izuku. I look up to my dad to see him crying and smiling. I am so happy, 𝗂𝗵𝗲, you found a boy I can tolerate and you fell in love with him, Dad says, bringing me into a bear hug. 11 Wait, you're not mad? I ask, confused. Of course, 𝗂𝗵𝗲, young Midoriya is an amazing hero and person, so if you are in a relationship with him it is okay with me, Dad says with a thumbs up. 5 You can stop using your muscle form, you know, I say, making him sigh. He goes back into normal might and puts a hand on my shoulder. 1 Seriously, kid, I know Izuku is a good guy and I trust that he'll treat you well, Dad says, smiling. I know he will, and I'm happy you accept that we are together, I say with a huge grin. What's going on here? I hear Mom ask as she walks into the area we are in. 3 𝗂𝗵𝗲 here got her first boyfriend, Dad says, smiling. She raises her eyebrow. Is he a good kid, Toshi? She asks Dad. Dad nods and puts a thumbs up. He was the boy who I let Gran Torino train last year, he says. Oh, the Midoriya boy, she says. Dad nods. That's nice. Anyways, both of you, we gotta go to bed. It's 2 in the morning and we all have to be up in 4 hours, Mom says, walking back into her and Dad's bedroom. 2 She's right. Good night, 𝗂𝗵𝗲, Dad says, kissing me on the head and following Mom. 5 I smile to myself and go into my room. What a good night, I think, as I doze off to sleep. The next morning, Izuku POV, I walk out of my building and see 𝗂𝗵𝗲 walking out of hers. She sees me and smiles while walking toward me. Morning, Izuku, she says when she gets right next to me. Morning, 𝗂𝗵𝗲, how are you feeling today? I ask as I put my hand out. She takes my hand and smiles. Pretty good after last night, she says, making me blush. Yeah, about that. When do you want to go on that date? We can do whatever you want, I don't really mind, I say, wondering what I could plan for us. You could just go to dinner or something, I really don't mind, she responds, shrugging. So you don't care about our date? I ask confused. Honestly no, as long as I know you reciprocate the feelings I have then I don't mind what we do, having you by my side is more than enough. She says smiling. 11, wow that kinda caught me off guard, I mumble. Wait what do you mean? She asks me. It's just no one ever really cared about me as much as you do. My mom cares about me but you know it's a mom's job to do that. I say snickering and scratching the back of my head. I mean of course I care about you, even if you didn't have a quirk or borderline superhuman strength, I'd still love you. She says smiling. For my brain reverts back to middle school Izuku and I blush while looking down and messing with my fingers. I quickly snap out of it and smile at her. I swear you're gonna be the reason I lose my mind, I say laughing. Hey as long as you don't leave I'll be fine. She says giggling. 1. Anyways are you ready to train your butt off for the sports festival? She asks with a smirk. I smirk back at her. Hell yeah. I respond as we walk into you. Those next 2 weeks were hell for me because I endured hours of pain so sudden hits like that from a Nomu won't almost break me in half anymore. Now, it's time for the sports festival. Man, this is gonna be so fun. Kirishima says as we arrive at the stadium on a bus. 1. For real man. I watched this on TV when I was younger. Kaminari responds putting his arm onto Kirishima's shoulder. They're too loud, I hear Ochako mumble. I snicker making her look at me. What? She asks me. You're right they are too loud. I say trying to not laugh. You seem to be in a good mood. Tsu says standing up behind me. I guess. I respond shrugging. Izuku here doesn't like to show his emotions. Ochako says pulling at my cheek and having a sarcastic tone. That's true. I say yawning. So since you guys are lovers now maybe Midoriya will be more open. Mina asks butting into the conversation. Lovers. Ochako says blushing. I smirk. Yeah, maybe, depends on my mood though. I say getting up and wrapping my arm around Ochako's shoulder and leaning my head on her shoulder. Right appealing. I say to her making her blush more. Sometimes I have these random flashes of flirtatious actions. Usually they play out in my head but sometimes I'll actually do them. Let's go. I hear Aizawa say as he walks out of the bus. We all walk into the stadium and hear the crowd screaming and yelling. I've watched these on TV but never expected them to be this loud. It's irritating. Hello everyone and welcome to the a sports festival, our host Midnight W-. I stop time and sigh as I walk away. Once I'm far enough away I start time and text Ochako to call me when the first event starts. She says okay. Ochako Pio. Izuku doesn't like the loud noises so I'm not surprised he completely dipped. I think to myself as Midnight announces the first event. 1. And this year the first challenge is an obstacle course. Midnight yells as the crowd cheers. Everyone get to the start line. She yells. All of us get to the starting line and I text Izuku. 3. She starts. 2. 1. She says before a loud buzz goes off. Izuku appears in front of everyone and smiles at us before disappearing again. 5. Izuku Midoriya has finished first in world record time. I hear Midnight yell as the rest of us start running. 3. There's a huge 0-pointer from the exams in front of us. Todoroki freezes half of it and Bakugo blows the head off of one while saying, "Die," really loud. I activate one for all at 80% full cowl and sprint past everyone else. No one even contends and I make it second place with the others a quarter of the way back. 1. Good job. Izuku says showing up next to me in the blink of an eye. Thanks, it's weird seeing you use your quirk freely like that. I say awkwardly smiling. 1. Yeah I get it, someone just appearing must feel weird. He says agreeing with me and yawning. So you plan to sweep this festival huh? I say crossing my arms together. Yeah, if there's a tournament I'll sweep but I don't know, I don't really feel like it. He says with a sly smirk. Cocky much. I say smiling and rolling my eyes. Let's be honest, can anyone beat me? Izuku says in a serious tone. About that. Aizawa interjects as he walks toward us. After the second round the remaining students will be ganging up on you. If you win the festival. If they win, they'll have the tournament for second round. he says with a 𝗧𝗂𝗧𝗍 grin. All of the class. Izuku asks with a evil grin. Yes, but you can't use your time-stopping quirk in this fight or you'll be disqualified. Aizawa says with an even more evil grin. 3, come on. Izuku yells, throwing his hands into the air. 10, who cares, brute strength and brains will get me the win. He continues laughing to himself. Ego, I say, rolling my eyes. For he pulls me away from Aizawa and into a room alone. I'm gonna lose. He says, putting his hands on my shoulder. So your ego was a fluke? I ask, confused. Of course it was. I'm not an egotistical but like Bakugo. He says, making me scoff. 2, alright, well, I don't plan to lose to you, for now we're going to be rivals. After the festival we'll go back to being lovey-dovey. I say, making him frown. Come on. He says, whining like a kid. I giggle and sigh. I walk up to him and peck him on the cheek before walking back out to the other students. So we're gonna beat him now, okay? I say to the group. Of course, well, beat that 𝗓𝗓𝗧. He gets cut off by Tsu slapping him in the face. Are you kidding? myheroacademia. I flick 2% OFA at him, making him choke on air. Shut up, man, I say with a sigh. Anyways, we have to beat Time Stopper, except he can't stop time, he's just stupidly strong. I say, tapping my foot on the ground. Like you? Tsu asks. While I'm flattered by the compliment, no, I use a quirk to get stronger, he's just strong from training. I say in a stern tone. Can I just freeze him? He can't use a flick to release wind to destroy my ice like you could. Todoroki says, holding up his hand. 1, that's it. I say, smirking. What? Todoroki says, confused. Let me explain. I say, Izuku POV, so if I just punch them, knocking them out, I'll win. Sounds like a plan. I think to myself before walking toward the field. Young Midoriya. A scream fills my ears and I immediately stop time. When I look over and see All Might with his smile. I sigh. Oh, it's just you, I think to myself as I start time. Don't yell All Might, it annoys me. I say with a yawn. I yawned as I wrote that line 19, sorry young Midoriya. Anyways, I found out that you and my daughter and now dating. He says, making a chill go down my spine. Yeah, we are. I respond, trying to stand my ground. Good job, kid. I'm happy she found someone she loves. He says, patting my shoulder. 1, wait, you're okay with it? I ask, astonished that he isn't mad. Of course, kid, like I've said before, I would have chosen you as a successor if she didn't exist. He says, making me snicker. Okay, All Might, anyways, I'm gonna go beat the rest of class. I say, turning around and clenching my fist. Good luck, young Midoriya, you're gonna need it. He says as he walks away. Yeah, right, I'm gonna win this fight. Present Mike yells as I stand on the field with my hands in my pockets. I sigh and start walking toward everyone. 3, suddenly Mina surrounds everyone in their own circles of acid and Todoroki sends ice at me. I dodge the ice with my speed but eventually get stuck. Annoying. I think to myself as I punch the ice, making it break off. Hey Izuku. I hear a familiar voice say. I turn and see Ochako behind me with a smirk on her face. She punches me in the face, sending me into the middle of all of the others. Todoroki used his ice as a distraction so she could get behind me. They used Mina's quirk to throw me off guard, damn it. I think to myself as Todoroki traps my fist in ice. Come on, nerd, fight back. Bakugo yells as he runs at me. 2, I sigh and roll over before Todoroki could freeze my other fist. This really was a good plan and you caught me off guard. I say as I crush the ice, holding down my other fist. But I'm not gonna lose that easily. I say before turning and throwing a punch at Ochako's stomach while she was flying at me, using One for All. Heck. She throws up a bit as she flies back onto the floor. Sorry, I think to myself as I stand up and smirk at the others. Deku. Bakugo yells, charging at me. Stupid, I mumble as I dodge his famous right hook and elbow him in the neck, making him stumble onto one knee. Dumbass. I say before starting to swing my foot at him. He catches my foot and smirks. Dumb Deku. He says, followed by a chuckle. My eyes widen as I get hit with a laser from 𝐒𝐭𝐴𝐵. Gah. I yell as I hold my side and stumble back. Mina and Todoroki surround me with them, Todoroki sliding on his ice and Mina sliding on her acid. You underestimated us. Momo says, creating something. Yeah. Kaminari says, charging up electricity. What's your plan, huh? I ask, smirking. How can I win this, I think to myself as Momo creates a huge blanket. A blanket? I ask as most of them get under it with Momo. For this. 2 million volts. Kaminari yells as he releases electricity. My eyes widen before everything goes numb. I black out for a second, but when I open my eyes again the electricity is surrounding me. I can move, I think to myself as I start walking through. Dahaha. Kaminari laughs with his thumbs up. The blanket comes off of the rest of the class as I jump over Todoroki's ice and Mina's acid. How are you up? Todoroki asks. I laugh to myself. Honestly, I don't know. I say before Bakugo charges at me. Nerd. He says as he creates an explosion in my face. I grab his neck as he does and squeeze, making him choke. I raise my other fist and punch him in the nose, making him scream. I hear a gasp. Is he gonna be okay? Momo asks while holding her hand over her mouth. He'll be fine, worry about fighting me for now. I say, smirking. And Ochako, you aren't slick. I say, turning and seeing her charging up one for all. Slick or not, we're still gonna win. She says, running at me. I sigh and dodge her punch. I kick her in the side, making her fly toward the other members of class. Tsu grabs Ochako using her tongue and throws her back at me. Ochako is still using one for all. I punch her in the stomach and the impact fractured my arm and makes her fall to the floor completely limp. Ah, damn it. I yell as I hold my arm. I hear a small chuckle and look down to see Ochako coughing up BLD with a smile. Double-edged sword, huh? She says as she struggles to get up. What? I ask, confused. If we come at you fast enough, even if you do hit us, it'll cause your arm to slowly break from the impact of us flying at you and your arm hitting us. She says as she stumbles to her feet. My eyes widen. You got me. I think to myself as I smile. Then come at me. I say, punching her back toward the others. While I do have borderline superhuman strength and my punch can be as powerful as All Might's are, I can't punch that hard as much as All Might could. I can last one of those punches before my arm breaks completely, which is why I always hold back my punches and my kicks. Ochako clearly figured this out too, since she's not afraid to get hit. Tsu throws Ochako at me again as Bakugo and Todoroki trail her. I throw a punch at them and my right arm breaks. I flinch and jump back while holding it. I'm gonna lose, I think to myself as I hold back tears. Damn it. I yell as I continue to hold my arm. They charge me and I fall to the ground. If I'm gonna win, I have to do it. I think to myself as I jump as far as I can back before I would go out of bounds and lose. Self-sacrifice, if that's what being a hero is about. I think to myself as I run at Bakugo, who's charging me. I crank back my arm and punch him with all I can. It breaks even further and I scream as Bakugo gets sent out of the fighting space along with everyone else. All except one, Ochako Uraraka. Damn it, that hurt. I think to myself as I fall onto one knee. So you think you won, huh? Ochako asks as she walks toward me. Think I have to now that it's only you? I say, looking back up and smiling at her. She starts to run at me and I use all the energy I have left to run at her. I have to use another full power punch or I'll lose. I throw the punch and collides with Ochako's 100% punch. I feel my arm breaking and tears flowing down my face. Damn it. I scream as I push forward, making her fly back. I collapse onto the ground and look over to see her being held up by something. What the hell? I say as a black and pink substance leaves her arms and legs, keep her from going out of bounds. I see terror in her eyes. What's happening? The tendril-like substance wraps around me and throws me out of the playing field. She didn't have control of it, but I did lose the fight. That's not what matters right now though. For I need to save her. What's going on? I yell at her as she starts crying. Help me. I see the red strikes of one for all throughout her body. I muster the strength to run at her and jump. Even though both of my arms are broken, it doesn't matter. I need to save her. I latch onto her and she looks at me. Izuku, get off, I don't want to hurt you even more. She screams while still crying. It's okay, 𝐒𝐻𝐻𝗧𝗏, it'll all be alright. I say as I stop time. I jump away from her and flinch with each step I take. I walk to midnight and touch her shoulder, making her able to see again. Huh? Where are we? She asks, looking around. I used my quirk. Now come to Ochako and put her to sleep. I say before walking back over to her with midnight. I'm gonna start time, now release your quirk. I say as I start time. Midnight's quirk goes off and I slowly fade to sleep. I hope I did good, please be okay, Ochako. I think as I go unconscious. No one POV 2, the tournament was delayed, which the crowd didn't like, but at the same time they got eye candy with the Class 1A versus Izuku Midoriya fight. Izuku and Ochako were both unconscious and the rest of the class was stunned by the result of the battle, especially with Ochako's quirk awakening. Wait, so Midoriya really sacrificed his arms to win? Jiro asks, holding back laughter at Kaminari in dumb mode. Yeah, he risked it all even though who won didn't really matter. Todoroki says, looking at his hand. It's honestly commendable that he'd do so much just for a win. Imagine what he'd do if lives were on the line. Ida says, chopping his hands. Shut it, 4 eyes. Bakugo says, walking into the room and kicking the chair out from under Todoroki. Why'd you do that? Ida says, chopping his hands at Bakugo. Because it was funny. Bakugo yells back with a sh-eating grin. 3 Ida sighs. D-head, Jiro mumbles. What you say, earphones? Bakugo says, looking over at Jiro. Whoa, calm down, Baku bro. Kirishima says, coming up and wrapping his arm around Bakugo's shoulder. 1, get off me, shitty hair. He says, smacking Kirishima's arm away. 𝗧𝗵𝗲, bunch of losers. Bakugo says, walking out of the room. Momo sighs. Why does he have to be so aggressive, she mutters. I know, it's really annoying. Jiro says, rolling her eyes. Gu-ha, dumb, Kaminari says with a thumbs up. 1 Jiro burst out laughing. Izuku POV, my eyes dart open and I sit up. I flinch at the slight pain in my arms. Looks like they didn't fully heal. I get up and recovery girl waddles into the room. 1 Midoriya, lay back down, I don't know if you're fully healed. She says, smacking me with her cane. 7 I'm fine, I promise. I say, rubbing the spot she smacked. Well, I need to check. She repeats herself and grabs a needle. I think to myself as I stop time and walk out of the room looking for Ochako. 2 I open a door and see her sleeping peacefully in a hospital bed. I tap her shoulder and shake her a bit, which wakes her up. What? She says, sitting up and looking at me. Oh, Izuku, why are we in time-stopped mode or whatever you want to call it? She asks while looking around. 1 Recovery girl didn't want me to leave, so I stopped time, and for her I didn't. I say with a sly smirk. Pee-pee, she mumbles, which makes me frown. Come on. I say, throwing my hands down. She burst out laughing. It's fine, I don't really care, anyways I guess you won the sports festival, huh? She says, looking down. Nah, you beat me. I say with a small chuckle. Huh? She asks, looking back up. Your huge WHP thing knocked me out of bounds, so technically you won the match. I say with a small sigh. Whoa. She says with her eyes sparkling like she's in a comic book. I scoff and stand up. Oh, and by the way, it's called Black Whip. She says as I turn away from her. Is it another quirk or something? I question. Yeah, I was told by the vestiges of one for all that I'd be unlocking 6 quirks, the 5 THS Black Whip being the first one. She says, standing up and leaning her back on mine. Interesting, how will you unlock the quirks? Do you know what the other quirks are? I ask as my mind starts to fly through possibilities. The only one I'm aware of is Aunt Nana's quirk, Float. She says, Aunt Nana. I ask, raising one of my eyebrows. Nana Shimura, she was the person who passed one for all on to my dad. I call her Aunt Nana because Dad referred to her as his sister. Even though there's no biological connection, it's still nice to call her aunt. She responds as she grabs my hand from behind me. I grip down on her hand, making her giggle. Anyways, now that we know we're both okay, do you want to watch me in that tournament soon? She asks me. Yeah, you better win. I say, smiling. You know I will. She responds before I walk out of the room and start time. Hey, it's Midoriya. I hear Kirishima say as I look over to him. Hey Kirishima. I say as I walk toward him. So what's going on, man? How are you feeling? He asks me, patting my shoulder. I'm feeling fine. I'm bummed out that I lost though. I say, scratching the back of my neck and smiling. Yeah man. I thought you had it when you knocked all of us out of the arena. Uraraka really clutched up. He says, accidentally rubbing salt in the wound. Yeah, it was close, but she deserved it. I say, smiling. Oh hey Midoriya. Momo says, walking out of a waiting room. Hey Momo, I respond. It was a good match we had out there. We almost got you, but you bested most of us. She says, bowing down. No need to be so formal. I say nervously. Okay Midoriya, sorry about that. She responds. I smile and nod. Your plan was good, using the RBB blanket to shield you and most of the class from Kaminari's electricity. Caught me off guard. Also when you guys took advantage of numbers and almost caught me again. You did better than I expected and ended up winning in the end, even if it wasn't because of those strategies. I say, smiling. Thank you Midoriya. Todoroki says, walking out of the room. Yeah, thanks Midori. Mina says, poking her head out. The rest of the class walks out of the door and most of them smile at me and say thanks. Demon nerd, we didn't need a strategy to beat you, I could have done it on my own. I stop time, walk over and knock him out. I start time again and he falls to the ground unconscious. Now that he's out, I'm gonna go to the stands because your matches will start soon. Good luck guys. I say before waving and walking away. Plus next is the tournament. Let's see who comes out as the winner. Ochako POV. A few of our class dropped out of the tournament because they thought they didn't deserve it. I won, so I think I do. Present Mike starts to announce the first match. The first match of the tournament is Momo versus Tokoyami. Present Mike yells, I have a feeling Izuku left the arena once he heard him yell. I hear Momo pumping herself up. You okay? I ask, turning to her. She nods and smiles. Of course, I'm gonna win. She says. Once she didn't. Whilst she had a good plan, Dark Shadow took advantage of his speed and won quickly by sending her out of the playing field. The next match was Todoroki versus Zero, and Todoroki seemed kind of mad after walking back from a random hallway in the stadium. He walked out next to Zero and quickly used a mountain of ice to trap him. Something's up with him, not sure what though. Next was my match. I'm going against Hitoshi Shinso. Kid looks funky. I'm walking down toward the ramp and Ojiro stops me. Uraraka, don't talk to him, his chew dash. He gets cut off by Present Mike. Go. He yells. I look over to the Shinso guy and he smirks. Seems like your buddy. Didn't get to talk, huh? He says with a smug look. Clearly. I say, rolling my eyes before my mind goes blank. What the hell? I think to myself as the vestiges of One for All surround me. He baited you, kid. Nana Shimori, Dad Sensei says with a sly smirk. Yeah, you gotta be more careful. The fifth says. When I roll my eyes. We're gonna bring you back out, but don't mess up again. Nana says before One for All activates in my finger and sends smoke around the fighting field. Ochako Uraraka has broken out of her trance. Present Mike screams over the loudspeaker. One eye smirk at Shinso, who has a shocked expression on his face. He growls, running toward me. You're so lucky you have a good DMN quirk. He yells enraged. He's right, I'm lucky that Dad gave me his quirk, but that doesn't mean I didn't work my butt off to earn it. I think to myself as I charge up 15% full cowl and clothesline him to the ground. He coughs up BLD and I throw him out of the arena. 2. I may be lucky, but if you think I had the easy way out, then try your best to get that stick out of your butt. I say before walking away. As I walk into the hallway toward the spectator rooms, Izuku appears in front of me. Hey, appealing. He says with a smirk. I blush a bit and look down. Good job in your match. Who are you going against next? He asks as he grits his teeth on a lollipop stick. Todoroki, I believe. I respond, jumping from tile to tile on the floor. Strong opponent, how are you feeling about it? He asks me as he opens the door. Fine, I'm determined to win. I say as Bakugo walks up to us. DMN nerd. I hear him mutter before he looks to me. Round face, I wanna fight you. He says to me before Izuku scoffs and starts to speak. Like you would beat her, you can't even beat my 𝗓𝗏, Izuku says laughing. 6 Bakugo doesn't break eye contact with me. Shut it nerd, I'm serious, beat Icy Hot and we'll fight, that's all I care about. He says before pushing Izuku's shoulder and walking out of the room. I wanna beat his but so bad. Izuku says before tossing the lollipop handle into the garbage. Nice shot, man. Kirishima says from across the room. Thanks, anyways what's your plan for Icy Hot? Izuku asks me. I shrug. I'll just outpace him I guess. I say before Izuku nods and disappears. I giggle and sit down waiting for my next match. Izuku POV sigh and watch Bakugo beat up Kirishima, no surprise there. Now is Ochako versus Todoroki, sounds like fun. I really want her to win, it'll help her confidence, not that she needs the help with it but it'd be nice. I watch as Ochako walks onto the field, she looks at me and smirks. I put up a toothy grin in response even though I didn't realize it until I noticed the rest of the class staring at me besides Bakugo. 7 I quickly go back to a blank face and watch as Ochako starts to charge Todoroki. I need to get back to being cold sooner than later or they'll think I'm weak just like in middle school. Raraka, don't make this harder than it has to be. Todoroki says to me while his left side gets colder and colder. I smirk at him. Sorry Todoroki but I don't plan to lose to you. I respond before sprinting at him with one for all. His face changes expressions, I can tell he's annoyed. He sends ice at me but I quickly dodge and flick 15% at him. He blocks it with ice forming behind him. I grit my teeth. Why aren't you using your fire? I ask as I charge one for all to 70%. I won't use that BSTRDS powers, I'll be a hero with my mother's powers instead. He yells back as ice forms around his left side, completely covering his red portion of hair. Oh sorry I didn't realize your left side is just your father, I was here thinking you were your own person. I say sarcastically. It's your quirk Todoroki, just use it. I yell at him while getting irritated. The ice on his left side slowly starts to melt and a devilish grin appears on his face. Fine, but don't blame me for what happens next. He says before a huge ice shard starts to form in front of me and fire flows at it. I smirk and charge up 100% of one for all before jumping at him. I feel a slight strain but not enough to take me out of the fight. I punch through the ice and it sends a huge shockwave through the stadium. The fire burns part of my suit off but only around my sleeves. I fall to the ground and land on my feet. I stumble onto one knee and look over to Todoroki to see him against the stadium's wall right near the audience who is cheering louder than all of the other events. I look down and see I'm in the boundary line and that Todoroki is not. I won and Todoroki is using his fire. This was a fun fight but next is Bakugo. I walk over to Todoroki who is breathing heavily with his eyes closed. Hey! I say making him open his eyes and look at me. What is it? He responds as he tries to move. Use your fire, you've put up the best fight against me with it besides Izuku. Next time you might even beat me. I say with a giggle. I see the smallest smile appear on his face before he closes his eyes and loses consciousness. Izuku appears and grabs Todoroki before disappearing again. I guess he didn't even want to say hi. For next is the finals and I'm gonna win this.